I think we get some comfortable chairs. There's a time in every man's or woman's life where they look at their V8 cylinder options and they go to United States of America and say, you know, I feel like there's more. Sometimes it happens to be when you're young. Sometimes when you're old as shit, son. Sometimes people don't want to pick up the New Balances and tucked in t-shirt for a Corvette.
Sometimes
they still want a nice interior that doesn't rattle plastic bits apart and question why you spent $45,000.
Sometimes
they want a car that will depreciate harder than a 5-day-old pack of Glazers. If you've never had Glazers, I feel terrible for you. I'll send one your way if you can send me coffee. That's where we're at. Either way, when that little notion comes across your noggin that you want some sort of high horsepower V8 counterpart to the domestic options, you usually end up searching up that old 3-letter acronym that has spawned some of the craziest road cars in existence. I'm Alex, Alex.fi on Instagram, and in today's episode of So You Won't, we're talking about the diabolical, downright ludicrous, the how in the are those only $12,000, the Mercedes-Benz AMG platform.
It's an amazing car.
Don't forget to subscribe, and of course, if you're looking for wheels, tires, bing, bang, boom, or suspension, be sure to hit up fitmentindustries.com. We've got it all, okay? And if you just want a t-shirt, we have a BBS wheel giveaway right now. Pick up a t-shirt. It's awesome. Front, Bausch. Back, Zausch. What more do you want? AMG goes back to the 60s for racing engineers Hans-Werner Aufrisch and Erhard Melcher. I don't have German accents, and I can't even try to do it as good as James did. But, you know. But anyway, they were hanging out at Aufrich's house pretty much being like, Mom, can Earnhardt stay the night and promise to keep it down? The acronym AMG stands for their names. A for Aufrich, M for Melcher, and G for Gropatch, Germany. The two engineers would continue to develop motors, actually, together in their spare time outside of work because the original engine for the Daimler's racing program would get axed by Mercedes-Benz, and they just wanted to do it because they were bros. And bros don't give up. Bros hang out like this forever, and it don't matter. You wanna know why? Because they built the son of a anyway. They ended up winning the German touring car championship 10 times with the motor that they built together in their little old basement. Suck it. You wanna know why? Bros. Bros to the end. Once AMG established itself in that initial race, their growth came rapidly. You would see AMG begin their engineering firm in 1967, competing in the 24 Hours of Spa in 1971, which they took first place in its class and second place overall. Just letting you know. Not too shabby for a big, heavy German car, eh? Times continued to do the engineering firm well because instead of just playing the free-to-play version of engine tuning, they actually bought the DLC pack and ended up becoming a full-fledged engine manufacturer by 1984. They would continue to introduce massive milestones into the automotive community by releasing, if I had a prop, it'd be a hammer and I'd swing it like a sword, because they released the hammer in the mid-1980s, which pretty much destroyed everything about the world. The hammer is the car. If there was a car that you could pick for the rest of your life forever, it was the hammer because it was banging. It was so well done. The hammer just outperformed about everything in the world and still probably outperforms a good chunk of it today. AMG would make all sorts of high horsepower, crazy Mercedes-Benz, and it did so well that they eventually just created a co-op with Daimler-Benz so that the AMG parts could be sold and maintained at any Mercedes-Benz dealership. Now, up until this point, AMG was a partner, not a model for the company. It wasn't until the first true production Mercedes-Benz AMG car hit the road from the manufacturer directly, which was a C36 AMG. They were known for just making boring German cars crazy, and they did it with everything they possibly could. I mean, they even fit a 7.3 liter, I'm not lying, into an SL Roadster for the hell of it. That's the motor that they use in the Pagani Zonda, for crying out loud, which was banging. Because why not? AMG would continue to grow and manifest into about 1 billion different models as they entered the 21st century and created a stranglehold in the high horsepower German marketplace, barking up the old territories of BMW, Audi, Porsche, and even Ferrari. The 5.4-liter supercharged V8 out of the E55 would be coined one of the best motors of the year. That's about it. We're not gonna talk about the head studs of the 6.2, okay? But hey, enough history. You know most of this stuff already, because guess what? People like you, people like me, we know this stuff anymore, okay? This is no surprise. What you do wanna know is what to expect when owning one, right? That's why we're here. So you want a Mercedes-Benz AMG. Well, strap in there, bud, because there's a little bit extra sauce on this one, and besides, you're probably actually gonna need a seatbelt, because if you've ever gotten into an AMG, especially a tuned one before, you're probably gonna need to have something to keep you in the seat, or you'll probably just die.
Off the brake. Whoa! Whoa!
Mercedes-Benz as a modifiable car is a bit like dropping your first swear word in front of your family after you've moved out and you come back for a dinner. You're not sure why you did it, you're sweating because you have no idea if it was actually a good idea, but hey, it felt good at the time and no one else has done it yet, so you figured, why not? The AMG platform is an already up-tuned Mercedes-Benz, which is something to remember right off the bat if you go into owning one. The cars themselves are pretty decent. You're gonna have to not really do a whole lot out of the gate because you got the badge, man. The badge was to make them fast, and they're pretty quick right out of the gate. Most have an above 300 horsepower number, decent torque, rear-wheel drive, and a little exhaust adjustment and intake can make the car sound like a more refined, proper V8. Versus its noisy and unnecessary, untamed domestic counterparts. I don't need you. I've got leather interior. And here's what's so great about them. They are fantastic cars to cruise in. After all, it's a Mercedes-Benz, right? Leather interior, 1 million different seat adjustments, incredible sound dampening material that makes it sound like you could be running something over you wouldn't even know, a beautiful exhaust note, and a blast to cruise with your friends in the back seat and still walk past most sports cars. I would say probably the biggest thing to take a look at, especially out of some platforms like the E55 and C-Series, the 4-doors, is that you can still fit a bunch of stuff in the car and still race about everything. At the end of the day, people like you and people like me are gonna end up looking at the following AMG models. The W204, which was the C63 AMG, the W211, E55, and E63 AMG, and if you're feeling a little bit dangerous because you just want to risk it, the W221 S63 AMG. Allow me to start this out by saying that if you're buying any one of these cars, you're gonna wanna have a few dollars saved up in the back of the old pocket as insurance, because it's not a matter of if they'll break, it's just a matter of when. These cars are high-performance, mass-produced, German executive cars that happen to be just a bit used, and usually they're abused as shit. They're gonna have issues, almost all of them. E55s, when they first started coming out, eventually became plagued with some little electrical gremlins due to the overly sophisticated seats or your entertainment system that eventually started to get fixed up towards the end of its series, but ultimately still had a couple, 2, 3 problems. The C63 pre-facelift doesn't like its own head studs and can cause issues. The S63s will begin to have sluggish and clunky transmissions. Clunky is not a word. If you can get past their independent occasional issues, you'll probably run into their overall I'm a Mercedes, hear me roar issues, such as, I love these cars, but damn, they don't make it easy to love them. Airmatic suspension failure, you had your heat blower premature failure, you had some central gateway module problems. Those ones were a doozy to figure out, don't even get me started. And it's not just all oil changes here, bud. There's a few extra goodies that AMGs just love to let you know are going out, because it's an AMG. But does that mean you shouldn't buy any of them? Hell no. AMGs are the bomb.com, and I am biased and I don't care. They are fast as shit. They are comfortable as hell. They depreciate as hard as humanly possible out of any known German car manufacturer because it's a Mercedes-Benz. But they don't look half bad. Anyone that's ridden in one wants one. Anyone that's owned one has been like, yeah, it was pricey, but it was fun, and then they're a couple of years later like, I want another one. And anyone who has no idea what an AMG is has probably just looked at it and said, that is an ugly old Mercedes. Why would anybody under the age of 50 actually drive one of those? Don't be the last one, okay? AMGs are fun. They're automatics. I'm sorry. They don't come in the manual because AMG doesn't trust you with that. They don't trust you with that sort of power. But get a TCU tune on old E55 AMG and you'll be having a spanking good time, I promise. Mercedes-Benz AMGs hold a special place in our hearts. They look best with a meaty, staggered setup, usually on some Vorsteiners, Rotiforms, or probably Rohanas because of their massive brakes, which if you have to replace those, bless your heart. Tire choices have got to be the grippy boys because it's an AMG. Get your Michelins, Nittos, or even Toyos since you'll have some wider tire options for the rear, and since most of them run a staggered setup. And for suspension, most people just end up ripping out the old Airmatic since it's a pain in the ass to replace, and they replace it with your BC Racing or KW counterparts. Sometimes they'll even do a little bit of a lowering link in there until the air suspension does go out, which makes it look like you have air, and you're technically not lying when you say your car's on air. AMGs are fantastic cars. They give domestic muscles a true run for your money when it comes down to sound, performance, and overall quality. Sure, they can be a little bit of a pain in the tushy, kind of like a puppy. Like you want one until you have to own one, and then you're like, oh, this maybe was a terrible idea. But they're fun to have around. You know they're gonna occasionally shit on your rug, but hey, it's just a rug, okay? It's worth it in the end. So what do you think about AMGs? Drop a comment below and let us know what you guys want us to talk about next. Don't forget to subscribe and of course, check out fitmentindustries.com for all your real tire and suspension needs like Vorsteiner, Rotiform, Rohana. If you've got the good old AMG already, just letting you know. I'm Alex from Fitment Industries. We will see you later, yet again. Peace.